We have an all 7A West state finals, Bentonville and Fayetteville, part 2 at noon Saturday at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. Greenwood and Shiloh Christian also headed to the Rock for state championship games. Elkins, Boonville, Mansfield also continue on. We've got all the details next on Prep Rally.
You're watching the Prep Rally Podcast.
Welcome to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. I'm Graham Thomas with Rick Fires here at the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette studios. We've got Leland Barclay joining us as always from the River Valley. And guys, it's state finals week for several of the classifications. You got 8-man, Class 2A, Class 5A, 6A, and 7A all happening this weekend in Little Rock. And, for our purposes here with Northwest Arkansas and River Valley, we've got local teams in 5A, 6A, and 7A. So let's dive into how these teams got there. And we will start with the big showdown up in Fayetteville this last weekend where Conway played at Fayetteville. And Rick, you and I were there for this one, and what a game it was, man.
You know what? And here's the thing you love about it. And Leland said this 6 months ago when we started. Nobody wins and gets to the state finals without defense. And my goodness, Fayetteville defense has really come on. I did a kind of column on it, and I know you wrote about it, led it as well. The Fayetteville defense has really come on. And early on in Fayetteville, the offense, and Drake Lindsey throwing 4 or 5 touchdown passes a game, they did not have outstanding numbers in that game. The defense really rose up, and special teams, coaches, this time of year, you really want to make sure your special teams come for and favor that field goal. Kacha, how you say his last name?
Cockle.
Yeah, man, with that field goal, the eventual game-winning field goal, about 5.5 minutes left. So Fayetteville's really playing well in all 3 stages of the game.
We got to talk about this, Rick, because I just didn't know what to make of it at the time. But my lack of football knowledge of the rules kind of comes back to bite me. But I had no idea that after you catch a fair catch, that you have the opportunity to do a free kick unrushed, and Conway nearly lined one up to try and tie the game with 40 seconds left. They got a delay of game penalty, which still kind of, I think, blows my mind, blows Buck James' mind.
Well, luckily they did get that because the kid missed it. He had a free kick. That's very, very rare. I've heard it. I've maybe seen it once or twice. They get a free kick. What was it, from like the 40, 45 yards?
Yeah, it was about the 35-yard line because, you're not having to snap it back to your holder. You're just kicking it from right there. And so
he missed it. It faded right. But they call for illegal procedure then, because that saved him. They would have missed it right there. So they got to play.
And so he missed that free kick, and then Conway had 4 incomplete passes as Fayetteville won the ball game.
Yep.
Just a really outstanding ball game, and Fayetteville advances on to the Rock for they were there in 2021, so now they're back. And guess who else is back? The Bentonville Tigers are back in the state championship game, and we got to give credit to Leland. Leland, you called this one several weeks ago, and you stuck by it, and now look at you. How do you like me now? That's kind of. You called the All West 7A, the 7A West championship matchup, and that's what we're going to have.
Well, I think it comes down to a lot of things. Fayetteville is very good. First of all, Bentonville is very good. The West is. They've kind of taken it on the chin the last few years. I'm tired. I'm sure they're tired of hearing about it, like the Central was for 12 years.
Yep.
But I think a lot of it has to do with two senior veteran quarterbacks, Drake Lindsey leading his team, and then Carter Nye leading his team. And then both teams are very good defensively. And like Rick said, they both have good kicking games. I thought everything lined up that it could come down to that again.
So, Bentonville and Bryant were tied at 21, and then Bentonville just, dominated the second half and won that game going away at Bryant. I mean, forget about just winning at Bryant. They won going away. I mean, there wasn't even a question of whether they were going to win probably in the fourth quarter.
And they're five-time defending state champions. So I was very surprised. Credit to Leland. Credit first to the coaches and Bentonville High and everything. All we do is pontificate. All we do is guess. And Leland is top at the guessing game. But, man, what a great – to go all the way down to Bryant and beat them, the five-time defending state champions, on their home field. I can imagine those Bryant butts leaving before the game was over maybe.
I bet they were. So we'll have Fayetteville and Bentonville in the state championship game on Saturday at noon in Little Rock, and we will discuss this one a little bit more in detail on our next segment. Let's move over down to Class 6A, where Greenwood won real big over Pulaski Academy. They're going back to the Rock for how many times in a row is this? 3 or 4? They're going back.
It'd be 4 in a row.
Yeah, but they've not won the last 2, and they're gonna play Little Rock Christian again, the rematch. They played at Smith Robinson Stadium in the first time, and Leland, is it just me, or does this have a similar feel to the way the Pulaski Academy deal went last year? They beat PA at Greenwood last year, had to face them again in Little Rock. It's going to be a tough task for those Greenwood Bulldogs.
Well, when I talked to Coach Chris Young, I stopped by Greenwood yesterday on the way to, my visit, my weekly visit, it seems like, to Mansfield. And the first thing I asked him was how he is going to manage, or how he normally manages rematches in state championship games. Because like you said, last year, Pulaski Academy was a rematch. They've been on both ends of those. 2007, they played Little Rock Christian twice. They won the state championship game after getting mercy ruled at Little Rock Christian when Michael Dyer went off for a big game in the 9th week of the season. And then they played Morrilton one year in the state championship game after they had mercy rule Morrilton in conference play. And Greenwood basically had to recover an onside kick late to survive and win that game. So rematches are a scary and odd thing. And I've always thought that the rematches favor the team that lost the first time, because they can go back and look at the things they did wrong that led to that loss and correct them, while the winning team just kind of looks at it and says, well, we won. However, I think Coach Young has looked and seen some things too that they can correct too. So it'll be an interesting game for sure.
Well, we've always heard that saying, it's hard to beat a team twice, and but it does happen. So
we could do a whole show on the teams that got beaten in the regular season and come back and win the state champion. I think I remember Northside and Southside in the 80s. Maybe it wasn't. Leland, was it Southside just beat Northside pretty badly, and then they got championship game?
87 and 88.
Yeah, 80, and then they got championship game, and then there's just the reverse. Northside won it. There's all kind of.
Think about the Bentonville-Fayetteville rivalry. All those years that Bentonville would win the regular season matchup and win the conference, and Fayetteville would win the state title.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple.
2006. Look at Rogers and Southside.
Yeah. It's but there are examples of the other two. Bentonville did it in 2010 with Fayetteville, and 2014, I think. So it goes either way. It's just it adds a lot of intrigue. The part 2 of it adds an intriguing matchup.
Yep.
It'll be a fun week down there for sure. It's not another regular season matchup, but we've got Shiloh Christian and Little Rock Parkview part 2. They played for a state title last year, and Parkview won by a couple scores. I think maybe by 10 or 11 points. Boys, if there's one team I think that might be able to hang with Parkview and score with them, it's Shiloh Christian, and they showed that last week by the way they rallied to come back and win at Pine Bluff. And at halftime of the Fayetteville game, I went on to Fearless and was checking over some of the scores, and I'm seeing that Shiloh's down 35-19, or maybe it was even worse at that point. I'm like, oh boy. And then sure enough, you check back in a little bit later, and there's a Shiloh Christian win.
And again, Bo Williams just going off. Bo Williams, who is our Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette Player of the Week. Just, I mean, what an incredible senior season he's had. And to go down in Pine Bluff, they're behind 35-7. I worked in 35-19. I worked in Pine Bluff. And I know them old zebras and everything, they can intimidate teams, especially when they get you down. But you know what? The old Saints, Bo Williams took that foot off his throat, and he said, "Not today, boys." And he just went off on them, gained, what was it, 4 or 5 touchdowns, almost 200 plus yards, and they came back with a win. And, Shiloh knows how to do that. And congratulations them, and we'll see what happens this week.
So that is kind of a wrap on the teams that are going to be playing for a state title and their results from last week. And we're going to talk more about these championship games in the next segment. Let's move on down to Class 4A, where Elkins goes down to Central Arkansas Christian and just goes down to Mustang Mountain and just lays one on CAC. And they've not played a close game all year, but something tells me they're going to get one this week.
Oh, Harding Academy! My goodness, I saw Harding Academy against Boonville last year. I think it was last year, and not many teams go into Boonville and whip them, but Harding Academy whipped them on that day. That was last year. Everything. This is a different year, but Harding Academy, they're going to come over here. Elkins, and my goodness, what a great year they've had. I look forward. I'll be visiting with their coach Zach Watson later. Still undefeated, putting up all kind of stats, and just getting a lot of guys. Even during playoffs, a lot of subs are taking the field. I was over there for that first round, and the starters only played like half a game against Clinton. So Elkins is really rolling. It's got to be one of their best. I don't go back to the 1920s, but this has got to be one of the best Elkins teams ever.
I would certainly think so. Moving on down to Class 3A, we got Boonville, who went down to Camden Harmony Grove and had a great win. And then Mansfield, the Mansfield Tigers, the story of the year.
Where'd that come from? Yes.
Go make the drive all the way up to Salem, Arkansas. They just got back a few minutes ago, I heard.
Yeah.
And but Mansfield, they just really special story, and Leland, I'm sure, could comment on both of these teams. But Boonville winning at Camden Harmony Grove, I mean, that's a long trip for those guys, and they went down there and took care of business. So they're going to play in a semifinal against Glen Rose, and they're going to play it at home. And then you got Mansfield, who is going to have to travel to Prescott. So Leland, you visited your weekly trip to Mansfield, like you referenced yesterday. How are the Tigers feeling down there?
Well, they're on cloud 9. They're confident. When I got down there yesterday, they were lifting weights. That's something that Coach Overton, Whit Overton, was the strength and conditioning coach at Boonville for 5 years, and so he's big on the weight room. And he had Boonville. 2 years ago, they would have won the state weightlifting meet, but they had 7 guys playing baseball that day. But their numbers would have equated. They would have won that. So, and Mansfield's going to compete in the state weightlifting meet this year, he said. So, and that's just one of those things that kind of leads to confidence. When these guys get in the weight room and lift and feel good, then a lot of that carries out onto the football field too, not just physically, but I think mentally too. And last week they had the big defensive goal line stand. Well, this week they got a 22-yard interception return for a touchdown by Jeremy Strozier late in the game that kind of provided the difference in that 26-22 win at Salem. That's 2 undefeated outright conference champions that they've beaten in consecutive weeks.
I mean, they got off to a great start. We were talking about Mansfield. We're kind of on the Mansfield bandwagon early. They got, beat by Charleston, beat by Boonville, and they held on to the rope. I mean, they could have let go of the rope and after those 2 losses, and here they are, and they're still playing, and they're going to be playing in December. That's just super for them.
Yeah, and they're winning close games. That's tremendous. They know they figured out that's one thing. Teams do get better. Hey, people don't forget teams do get better. What no matter what sport it is, and Mansfield certainly has.
And, in Booneville, they um this is where we all expected them to be. Now the question is,
Yeah.
can they win one more to get
Can
a
they
chance
finish
to
it?
can they win two more to finish this deal? And we'll see. It's hard to win a state championship. It's hard to get to the
Abs-
state semifinals.
Absolutely.
So, have you gotten a chance to visit with Coach Crowley yet this week in Booneville?
I have not. Of course, they went on the road last week and won at Tammany Harmony Grove 44-16. Dax Goff had his fourth 200-yard game of the year. Rylan Ray added 128 yards on the ground, and it's nice to have him back for sure. And, but now they return home, which is nice. But I tell you, Glen Rose, they haven't been tested this year. They have been putting up some big numbers, and they've got a running back that transferred from Malvern, who in junior high was actually the leading running back ahead of Jalen Dupree.
Wow.
So and he's part of their 4x100 state champion relay team. So it is going to be a tremendous challenge for the Bearcats, especially defensively this week.
Well, and you say Glen Rose hadn't been tested. Well, they're about to be tested for sure. So, and I don't want to leave off. The Ozark Hillbillies. They fell to Warren, a really good Warren
Wow,
team, and
yeah.
Leland, you were there for that one. But I think you kind of put it in perspective. This is an Ozark team that won 10 games. Nothing to be ashamed of. You can't. Sometimes the season ends, and that's what happened. They lost to a better team on Friday night.
Well, I tell you, 4A, I love looking at 4A and watching 4A throughout the season and seeing how that 4A7 conference, which is alive still with, and then the 4A8. Well, I guess Arkadelphia got beat last week. That was the 4A7's last game, but that's always one of the balanced conferences I love to look at. And then the 4A8 with Warren in it. It's a very good conference. So I love watching 4A. And anytime a team gets down and plays in the final 8 in Class 4A, that's really good. But yeah, Warren was just I think Ozark was a little outmanned on Friday night because Warren's really good. I mean, obviously they're 13-0 for only the fourth time in school history. And they'll be playing in the semifinals at Rivercrest for the right to go and play for a state title.
Hey, Leland, did you see any standout they just produce athletes down there like mosquitoes down there. But do you see any standout athletes that like going to play D1? The reason I ask is a few years ago, Warren come up to Prairie Grove in 4A. I love 4A too. And I kept hearing about this Traylon. I said, "Where's this Traylon Burst kid at?" I've been hearing about, and he was only a sophomore at that time, and yet he was the biggest, the baddest stud on the field, and he was only a sophomore at the time. We know what he went on to do. So they look like they got any athletes like that?
Well, as far as athletes, yes. The quarterback is a freshman, Jackson Denton, who is not even old enough to drive yet. He's thrown for almost 3,000 yards. He has set all of the freshman passing records in the state this year already. And he's going to be very good. Now, obviously, he's kind of in the same boat with Kane Archer in that he's very good, but he's also got guys around him. The guy to watch out for that's going to be on everybody's map, in fact, he already is on most of the teams in the SEC, their map, is Antonio Jordan. He's a 6'4" receiver, and he is one of those guys. He's not as big as Traylon Burks. Because, the thing about Traylon Burks, he would have probably been the best player at about 8 or 9 positions in the state his senior year. He was just an absolute brutal linebacker. He could have played defensive back.
Safety,
he could have played quarterback, running back, receiver. He could have, defensive end. He would have probably been the best defensive end in the state. Antonio Jordan is not as big as Traylon Burks, but I tell you, when you watch him, he just glides. And he caught 2 touchdown passes in stride. He was open by about 10 yards, and it was just it was a pitch and catch. But when you look at Antonio Jordan, he's the word that kind of comes to mind is sleek.
Sleek. Okay. I like sleek.
So just keep an eye on him because he's the next one.
Okay. What
Well-
grade's he in?
He is a junior.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I hope that we'll be talking a little bit more about that Class 4A next week on the show, because that'll mean that Elkins has gotten through and that we'll be able to continue to talk about this, because you'd think Warren will have a great chance to win their game as well. So, all right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll take a look at the championship games for this week and go over those one more time, and we will be right back.
Stay on top of all Arkansas Razorback sports with a Digital Plus subscription on the Hogs Illustrated app. Get complete Razorbacks coverage in one location. Your subscription gives you 20-plus issues of Hogs Illustrated magazine, the most unique and compelling coverage anywhere in the state, plus total access to all the content on WholeHogSports.com, including breaking news, commentaries, analysis, features, recruiting, award-winning photos, and premium message boards. Subscriptions start at just $17 per month. Join the Hog Sports Network team at subscribe.waco.com. That's subscribe.wehco.com. Or call 479-684-5509 to get your front row seat to Arkansas Razorback sports. Go Hogs!
Welcome back to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. Graham Thomas and Rick Fires here with Leland Barclay. And gentlemen, we're gonna go and just take a look now at the games that we've got left this week. So starting with the state title games, Shiloh Christian and Parkview in 5A, Little Rock Christian and Greenwood in 6A, and Bentonville, Fayetteville in 7A. So we'll just start with the 6A game on Friday night. We've talked about earlier, but we got Little Rock Christian and Greenwood, the rematch, and man, like if you're a quarterback guy, come out to War Memorial Stadium on Friday night and watch these guys throw the ball around. I mean, it is, these are two of the best. Walker White's headed to Auburn to go play for Hugh Freeze. We know Kane Archer is going to end up somewhere. We don't know where yet, but I'm excited. I'm going to get to watch this game in person and just watch these guys go to work. And Leland, you've already seen them do their thing before. So.
Yeah, again, a rematch from only 4 weeks ago. It was the last regular season game. Greenwood won 56-39. But Walker White probably had his worst game of the year. He was 22 of 35 for 282 yards and a touchdown and 3 interceptions. And he missed I think he was 0 for 4 starting out. I don't think that's going to happen again. So I think it will be a much closer game, and it'll be interesting to see what adjustments, Little Rock Christian makes. But I think Walker White will have a much, much better game the second go around. He's thrown 7 touchdown passes in their 2 victories over Van Buren and in that big 42-35 win at Benton on Friday night. So I think it'll be a game that's very, very worthy of watching.
Well, I agree on that one. And, playing at War Memorial is a little bit different than playing in the hostile environment at Smith Robinson. Although Joe, I'd just like to talk about this too, because I love going to War Memorial. A lot of folks don't like it. I love going there. I love how close you are to the action. I've been there as a reporter and as a fan and experienced it. And I've gotten to experience it when it was sold out, packed. I mean, so I'm all for the Razorbacks for sure continuing to play there. I know not everybody's on board with that, but that's my stance.
You know what? Is it history? Is a tribute to the soldiers back in the 1940s? It's a war memorial, and I've always enjoyed it too. I know some people, they get caught up in, pertaining to Razorback. Oh, the campus is up here. They got to have them all up here. You know what? I'll go to War Memorial at any time, high school. And again, we're going to hear probably some of the, we've heard it for years, Leland, about, Bentonville and Bentonville and Fayetteville, they're right there. How come they got to play down there at War Memorial? How come they don't play right here in Razorback Stadium? Because you know what? That's the way they've always done. Every team wants to start off going to the Rock. You got to finish at the Rock. That's where the AAA is. The administrators, they like to be there. So we can nip that right in the bud. It's not going to happen. They're going to go to Little Rock, War Memorial Stadium, historic stadium. I'm with Graham. I love it down there.
Well, and why not give other people an opportunity to see
them.
Drake Lindsay, who's going to be playing college baseball or college football next year, and then Carter Nye, who's going to be playing college baseball somewhere. And then how about C.J. Brown and Jason DeLamar, two of the best receivers in the state? I mean, this is a game that other people are going to want to watch too. I have no problem with all the games being at War Memorial Stadium. It's centrally located.
Yep.
It's Little Rock's the capital of Arkansas. It's convenient for everybody to get to. And if Fayetteville and Bentonville doesn't show up and put at least 15 or 18,000 in the stands, I think that's an embarrassment to Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us right into that matchup, Bentonville versus Fayetteville, the sequel. And that'll be at noon on Saturday. And boys, the one thing I'm just hoping for is just really nice weather. Like, they've got turf, I think, at War Memorial. So the field's not going to be an issue, but a great weather, a good crowd, that's what I want to see. And, this game is just, I think it's going to be a terrific ball game. The first time around,
They were being pretty handily,
but it was close
Yeah.
up until Carter and I went down with an injury, and Bentonville was just that was a lot to. I mean, in the moment and being there, they were they lost other guys beyond Carter and I in that game. And Jody Grant and I were talking about that yesterday. They had a corner and a safety, I believe, go out, and they had some blows. Things didn't go their way. Fayetteville was at home, and Fayetteville pulled away, and Bentonville was licking its wounds for a little bit. But I tell you what, that team, guys, they kind of came together. I mean, that loosened Carter and I there, and some of those guys, they had to get on board next week. They had to rally together and beat Rogers at Rogers, and they did it by one touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But they did it, and then they go and wallop Springdale really good, and then they crushed Bentonville West when Nye returned the next week. I think that Bentonville team has really come together. The Bentonville we thought they would be, they are now.
And on the other hand, I mean, it's just been a magical year for Fayetteville from the very start all the way up on there. Now they're 12-0, and like I said, man, they are really excelled in all three phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. When I went over there for Thanksgiving, watching them practice on Thanksgiving, they were crossing the dotting the I's, crossing the T's, working on the onside kicks and all that. And so we've said it repeatedly. Whatever happened before, right now, this is for all the marbles. This where if you're a poker player, this where you put all your chips out there on the table, any kind of cliche you want to use. So that's going to be a tremendous game. I'm glad you pointed out by the weather, man. I haven't looked at it, but yeah, I've seen them both. I remember one year when Springdale and Northside were in the state finals, and there was just sleet and ice, and that's with Gerald Williams, and there was mistakes, and they didn't get to play their best because of the conditions were so poor. And on the other hand, I remember when Harrison Alma, Frankie Vines, and Tommy Tice, and I remember looking on the sidelines, man, what a gorgeous, beautiful day. So the weather will be a factor, and I hope because you want to see the best, and for the players that play their best, I hope the weather is just outstanding.
Saturday evening, it will be Shiloh Christian in Little Rock Parkview. And, that's we've said, can anyone beat Parkview? And I think the quick answer was no one can beat Parkview. But don't tell Shiloh Christian that. They're going to go in there expecting to win that ball game, and they will keep coming at you and coming at you and coming at you. And if they get down, they're just going to keep coming. I think we saw that last week. And so personally, I'm excited to see how Shiloh goes about attacking Parkview and how Parkview responds to it.
Now, Parkview's the favorite. There's no doubt about our friend down at the Little Rock Bureau, part of our newspaper. If they had him number one all year long, probably for a very good reason. But I was at Shiloh Christian probably about a month ago, and I went on and I look over there at the backside of their stadium, and all you see is banners. State championship this year, state championship that year, 8, 9 different banners. So they have their tradition. They know how to win. And they got Bo Williams, and their first-year coach just done a tremendous job. He was an assistant. Barnard. He knows how to get it done. So that is another absolutely tremendous game, I think.
Leland, any more thoughts on these championship games before we move on to the other two?
Well, yes, we've said all year, okay, nobody can beat Parkview. But if there is a team that can beat Parkview, we've said all year that it's probably Shiloh Christian. And a couple of things that kind of stands out about this Shiloh Christian team. First of all, it's the first year under Tucker Barnard. Now, he obviously hasn't had to make a lot of tweaks, but I'm sure he's made a few. And I'm sure that's going to make a difference. And the fact that Shiloh Christian is not the Rhett Lashley Shiloh Christian teams of the past, where all they do is throw the ball. They have a running game.
Mm-hmm.
And Bo Williams is very good. Now, can he play 150 snaps on Saturday night? That's kind of a thing there. But I just think that Shiloh Christian, especially the confidence from coming back on the road at Pine Bluff, which, like Rick said, he lived there. He knows what it's like to play at Pine Bluff and Jordan Stadium.
Yes.
So I just think this Shiloh Christian team is capable of winning on Saturday night.
And you better believe they're going to go into it believing they're going to win and expecting to win. And
now I know they got a freshman quarterback, and I know he's very good. And it's just, he just got to take control. He's got great players around him. He doesn't need to make every play. Bo Williams is going to make a lot of play if he can just keep it under control. They're under the big time lights.
Yeah. So, and then, we have the 3 other playoff games that we're going to keep an interest on, semifinal games with Harding Academy at Elkins, Glen Rose at Boonville, and Mansfield at Prescott. So, first Harding Academy at Elkins, you got 2 undefeated teams. What a showdown this is going to be. And Rick Fires, you'll be in the house.
You know what? I like going over there, seeing me some Elks. It's an easy drive from Fayetteville. The fans have really packed the stadium. That's a legendary stadium over there. And Harding Academy, I know I've seen them. They got a university over there, and they got coaches' kids who stay there and play for the high school. So Elkins knows what it's up against, but they're game planning right now, and I'm assuming that's going to be a great game as well.
Yep. And Glen Rose visits Boonville. They're, as we talked about, they're going to get them a load of Dax golf coming at them on Friday night. And we'll have Harold McIlvain will be at the game down in Boonville. And Mansfield has a real tough assignment, Leland. They've got to go to Prescott. But hey, if the last couple weeks have taught us anything, they're not going to be intimidated by that, and they're going to go over there and give them a good ball game.
Yeah, I think everybody would agree that, at this point, they're kind of playing, with house money.
Yep.
They've had a fantastic season, but they're not satisfied. They were hitting the weights hard yesterday. They're going to be practicing all week. And, they got a dose of what it's like to go on the road and play in a hostile environment the last 2 weeks and get on the bus around, 11 a.m. or noon. And this is actually going to be the shortest trip of the 3. Now, it's also going to be the toughest opponent of the 3, too. But I definitely, would not count Mansfield out at this point because, first of all, they're playing very good defense, which matters this time of the year, and they're very confident, which also matters. This will be their first semifinal appearance ever.
That's just, and I just can't say enough. And some people have mentioned to me it's the story of the year for Class 3A, and I really can't argue with that. I
And look,
mean,
and has anybody traveled more than Mansfield? I mean, going all the way up to Hoxie up in north.
Shiloh's been on the road a lot too. They went to Valley View and they went to Pine
Yep,
Bluff.
that's
So,
Well,
but
you came back to Hoxie, then you go back up to Salem. Now you turn around and go south down to the land of Curly Wolf. So I'm assuming they don't have electric vehicles, so they need to gas it up again and get that credit card going and just go down there and play.
all right. Well,
You know,
we're
an
gonna.
interesting story about Mansfield. That game will be live streamed by Mansfield. They have not had a live stream in the past, but 2 weeks ago, I guess their administration and they kind of got together. Friday morning of last week or the week before last, and they asked, hey, how can we live stream it? Because they contacted Hoxie. Hoxie was not going to live stream it. So they got together Friday morning, put everything together, traveled around to a couple of schools to pick up the other schools to pick up the things they needed, and put together a live stream for that night. And now they're going to be doing their third live stream in the playoffs.
Well, and now they might want to start thinking about maybe this is something we need to be doing here. I mean, I love the live stream stuff. I think that's just really great. Just about any game you want to see is available, on a Friday night if you can't make it, and for it to make it down to the smaller classifications, that's tremendous. So that's a real heartwarming story, I think, there, Leland.
Who'd they get to do it? They just grab a couple guys around town that could talk a little bit.
Josh Brown, their boys basketball coach.
Okay, good. I'm sure he does a good job.
And I'll tell you, he is hilarious to listen to. I didn't know a basketball coach could get so fired up about football.
Well, those goal line stands they had at Hoxie, I bet he was fired up. So, all right. Well, we're going to take one more break. And when we come back, we will go through our top 5 of the week.
If you're enjoying this podcast, consider a newspaper subscription to the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette or the River Valley Democrat-Gazette. We have a special offer for our podcast listeners, so visit nwaonline.com/podcast23 to get started. You can also click the subscribe button on our websites, nwaonline.com and rivervalleydemocratgazette.com, or call us at 479-684-5509 and be sure to say that you're a podcast listener. Now back to the show.
And we're back with the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. And we are going to get into our top 5 of the week. And guys, since I'm the least prepared this week, I'll start us off and then let you guys talk about what you're going to have. But, man, I'm going to start off going back to Shiloh Christian and Bo Williams. He was our player of the week for the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Now, how can you not argue with that? He had 269 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns in their win over Pine Bluff. He caught 3 receptions for 34 yards, and he returned a kick 35 yards. Mm-hmm. That's a good day at the office. And, Rick had a nice story in today's paper on Tuesday, that is, about Bo. So, it kind of, it starts and ends with him there. And then I'm just looking at the Saints themselves. I mean, they're down 35-19 at halftime, and man, they come out in the second half and just flip the game on its heels and win in a really raucous environment in Pine Bluff. And I've been there too, Jordan Stadium, a couple times, and it's just not an easy place to go and win, and it's not supposed to be easy. This is the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Then I'm gonna go with Elks, and I tell you what, Rick, just. We've talked about, kind of the numbers those guys have been putting up all year, really. But, here they go do it again against Central Arkansas Christian. You have Deshaun Chairs, 24 rushes for 250 yards. I could do a little bit of math. That's 10 yards a carry, 5 touchdowns. Dizzy Dean completed 15 of 25 passes for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then on defense, how about this? Jaquay Walden had 6 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 3 pass breakups.
Good athlete.
I mean, so those are three guys for to round out my top five for the Elkins Elks. And I'll tell you what, got a tough assignment this week, but I know that they'll be ready to go come Friday night for Harding Academy. Rick?
All right, I got to start off with the number. The number 5, the 5-time defending state champion Bryant is no longer. We're going to have a new state champion in Arkansas' largest classification. Let's start. Bentonville went down there and eliminated them. Carter Nye, 15-27, 238, passing 4 touchdowns, just having an outstanding senior year. Let's move over to Fayetteville. Graham and I were both there. We doubled it up. We're not smart enough to do it just one person. We got to have both of us there. They went to 12-0 in a really good game, 24-21. Conway's got a quality team, and Amalo, the quarterback, man, he can sling it and he can
pretty
run.
Smooth.
He is smooth. He is left-handed quarterback. I don't follow recruiting that much. Somebody needs to jump on this kid. Nathan Kocher, special teams are always big this time of year, and he had 27-yard field goal, 5.5 minutes to go. That kind of broke the tie, and they were able to hang on. I got to talk about the Fayetteville defense. Isaac Pearson. I was there on the sideline, and they went after this kid. He's a senior cornerback, and he knocked away, tackle for hardly no gain. They went after him. Isaiah Taylor, another interception for Fayetteville in the secondary. After the Southside game, he's the one to seal the deal when he had an interception right there. Drake Lindsay, another productive game, 20-29, 175 passing, 2 touchdowns. And Christian Setzer, he's been a real key for Fayetteville's resurgence this year. Really great on the running game. He was 21, 123 rushing, a touchdown. So just these guys doing a lot of great things, putting up a lot of numbers.
Well, going back to Setzer, one thing we probably didn't mention, after Conway had tied the game up at 21, the second or third play after Fayetteville got the ball back, he busts out a 44-yard run that set up Cockle's field goal there.
He did.
And, maybe they don't win the game if he doesn't make that run.
That's exactly right.
All right, Leland, top 5.
Well, I got to start with the Mansfield Tigers, of course. Junior quarterback and linebacker Jeremy Strozier ran for a touchdown, threw a touchdown pass, and then returned the interception 22 yards for a key touchdown in the second half in Mansfield's 26-22 win at Salem on Friday night. And then, of course, the Greenwood Bulldogs, won handily 56-26, a mercy rule win over Pulaski Academy. Grant Carnes caught a 12-yard touchdown pass. He also returned an onside kick, 52 yards for a touchdown, one of those rare occurrences, and they had been working on this, where he got the hop, took off 52 yards, touchdown. And then, of course, Brady Mackey added a defensive touchdown with an 87-yard touchdown on a interception return. So just scored in all phases for Greenwood on Friday night. And then Booneville fullback Rylan Ray is back. 25 carries for 128 yards and 3 touchdowns to kind of spur their offense. And, of course, he's that one part of that 1-2 punch that they missed for part of the season. But Dax Goff also had his 4th 200-yard game of the year, 209 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then also, let's don't forget about Booneville's defense. Hunter Warren, Connor Lentz, and Dylan Todd all had interceptions for the Bearcats on Friday night and limited Camden Harmony Grove to 180 yards of offense. And the Bearcats are now back in their 21st semifinal game on Friday night.
Man, I'm really happy to hear Rylan Ray is back for them.
Yeah.
That's, it's kind of amazing they've been able to hold on without him, and now they get him back. You get the 1-2 punch going, and it's, you hope that down the stretch here he can stay healthy and give them a chance. So, man, guys, I'm kind of sad. Football season is going to end for with these state championship games for these bigger schools, and I really hope we've got some more of our local teams that make it through this weekend, so that we can have us another Prep Rally podcast next week and devote it to just those guys.
Absolutely. I know we got some
Um,
great basketball teams around here, but man, I want to finish
I'm not
off
ready
this.
for basketball.
I'm not ready. I want to finish
Let's-
this off.
Let's keep this thing going here. So, folks, you can listen to the Prep Rally podcast at nwaonline.com, or you can watch it on YouTube. You can get it, quite frankly, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again to our sponsor, West Termite Pest and Lawn. Be sure and look for Prep Rally Live this week, where Rick Fires will correctly predict all the games we're going to go after.
I doubt it.
And, we'll get after it this week, guys. So for Rick Fires, Leland Barclay, I'm Graham Thomas. We'll see you guys next week. We love you.